We know you're not a pirate. We know. You'll get your knife back when we dock in Singapore.
Say, you just get on the phone and call Scranton, PA, and ask anybody about your
Have
world
you
before
any
spinning.
arms, sir?
Just need to see growing out of my armpits.
No excuses, Mr. Atkins. Your job is to look after this dock. If I ever find it in this state again, I'll... How's your wife?
Oh, she's very much better, sir. And thank you very much for the flower.
Oh, don't thank me. My God, I have to get rid of him somehow.
Who's the big shot?
Sir Guy Wilberding, managing director of the line.
Right this way, Sir Guy. Gangway, please. Glad to have you with us again, sir. Oh, none of that mush. I know how glad you are.
Not bad. Not bad at all. For a synthetic stone.
You ought to know, Ford.
My lovely Olga.
Hey, I bet that lug stops in China.
That's the insignia of Wing Yulan. Everything in the archipelago pays dividends to him.
Good morning, Purser.
Good morning, Miss Yulan. We've made arrangements to take your chairs aboard in the after gangway.
Thank you.
As far away from her as you can. And farther away from me.
Singapore girl, you're a great way to fly.
To make your hair look beautiful, you can often damage it. To put it right could mean a hot oil treatment at a salon. Now, with VO5 hot oil conditioning treatment, you can treat yourself at home. Just heat a tube, massage it in, and then shampoo. VO5 hot oil helps replace the natural oils that blow-drying, coloring, and perming may take out. For soft, silky, beautifully conditioned hair, VO5 hot oil conditioner. Go on, treat yourself.
Bring your family to Leeds Castle, just off the M20, near Maidstone.
At Queensway's Sale of Sales, this week, final reductions. Bed prices cut and cut again, like the Statesman Double Divan, now only £69.90. Final reductions on bedroom furniture. Lounge suite prices cut and cut again, like the Can, now half price, only £289.90. Final reductions on wall units. Prices cut and cut again on carpets. Final reductions, this week at Queensway's Sale of Sales.
New Go-Cat Gourmet. Cats love it because it's all meat enriched with vitamins and minerals. Go-Cat Gourmet, all meat.
Seidel, the skincare soap. Seidel's fresh, gentle lather contains a special skin hygiene ingredient to give you that extra cleanliness that banishes most harmful bacteria. Rich, creamy Seidel, the Start Fresh, Stay Fresh soap.
Clark Gable is back next week in Forsaking All Others with Joan Crawford in a story of revenge and unrequited love. That's our film next Sunday at 2:35. Sunday evening on Channel 4. At 7:15, a musical tribute to one of America's greatest songwriters, Cole Porter, is followed by the comedy quiz game, Babble.
Just thought, after all that questioning, I'm now with it. I've got it. Bucks. But yes, 10-point penalty, it's wrong.
Absolutely wrong.
At 8:45, an evening watching TV has a predictable effect upon Mike and Laura in a fine romance. At 9:20, from deep in the Welsh countryside, Billy remembers life back home, one summer.
She hates me.
She doesn't.
If I had a kid like me, I'd hate him.
And finally, at 10:15, an invisible agent uses his remarkable powers to elude the Nazis during World War II. Programs for Sunday on Channel 4.
On ITV shortly, the savage streets force Kimball into the open arms of the police in The Fugitive. Here on 4, today's history looks at the fate of utopian ideals.
To make your hair look beautiful, you can often damage it. To put it right could mean a hot oil treatment at a salon. Now, with VO5 hot oil conditioning treatment, you can treat yourself at home. Just heat a tube, massage it in, and then shampoo. VO5 hot oil helps replace the natural oils that blow-drying, coloring, and perming may take out. For soft, silky, beautifully conditioned hair, VO5 hot oil conditioner. Go on, treat yourself.
Oh, color, brilliant. Bouquet, interesting. Taste. Superb, definitely French.
Unican Special Reserve.
Unican?
They're famous for homemade wines.
No one offers you a wider choice of excellent homemade wines and beers than Unican.
Anyone got a glass of water?
In half an hour's time here on 4, Birds of Britain spotlights the many varied types of seabirds to be found around our coast. But first, today's history, featuring some rare archive film, looks at man's eternal utopic dream of creating the perfect society.
What we have in the United States is a model of existence which is based upon a small family unit, many people living in suburbia, a job from 8 to 5, 2 cars in the garage, a house, a washer, a dryer. That's kind of the model of existence. We, in this kind of new evolving community, find that that model is not really relevant to the planet Earth. And we have referred to an Indian model of existence, which is one that is relevant to nature, one that is harmonious with nature, one that lives off the land while taking care of the land, one where people make their own clothes, grow their own food, build their own homes. What is also true and relevant about the Indians is they had a way of life that was a spiritual way of life.
Utopia is an idea that's immensely appealing, to find an existing paradise or to set up one's own heaven on earth. And yet utopia is a word that is nowadays in bad standing. To call a scheme utopian is to dismiss it out of hand. The hippie movement of the 1960s is scorned. The imagery of the hippies is very close to that of the Puritans. Indeed, some of the 60s communes modelled themselves closely on the diggers of Puritan England. In 1649, taking over some wasteland well outside London, Gerard Winstanley and a group of diggers began an idealised colony, working hard on the land, living in complete equality, dedicated to peace and the rule of reason. But the practical realisation of these ideals met with violent and destructive opposition, and the colony was abandoned in less than a year. It's a recurrent idea of utopias that if only our surroundings can be made perfect, our behaviour will at least improve. Architects and planners have drawn many, often stunningly beautiful, ideal cities. During the Renaissance, the Italian city princes, inspired by Plato's Republic, commissioned designs for new and ideal cities. Planned to supersede the earlier chaotic medieval towns, these geometric plans were based on the newly established laws of astronomy and mathematical calculations using the circle and straight lines. One of the most comprehensively planned utopias was the city of Chaux, drawn in exquisite detail by the French architect Ledoux in the 1770s. He rejected the idea of decoration on his buildings, and his designs were dictated by reason and nature. They have a wonderful literal quality. The house of a river surveyor, of a woodcutter, and of a hoop maker. He added utopian institutions, a cemetery, and public baths, designed to inspire the ideal behaviour and values appropriate to ideal surroundings. Even Ledoux's brothel was an architectural expression of its function. There were other more practical reactions to the new disorder of the Industrial Revolution. Robert Owen, a prosperous but enlightened mill owner, sought to bring order and harmony to the lives of the workers caught in the misery and poverty of the new factories. On the first day of the new century, January the 1st, 1800, he set up in New Lanark in Scotland the most famous industrial community of its time. He opened the first infant school in Britain. It was visited by the Tsar of Russia, while Frederick Engels wrote enthusiastically of Owen's next project. In 1825, in Indiana, he set up a community he called New Harmony. Property was held communally, any and all could enter, there was total equality between the sexes and absolute freedom of action. At its height, the community held 900 disciples and lasted, in some disharmony, for 4 years. There were many similar communities, secular and religious, who sought to escape the city life they saw as wicked and unnatural. A group of Lancashire women, the Shakers, combined a puritanical and perhaps self-defeating celibacy with frenzied dancing. They acquired extensive lands in New Hampshire, building everything at right angles. The Salvation Army, too, preached a vision of a new, sin-free, drink-free world in the colony across the sea. The idea of realizing utopia graphically has proved irresistible to architects of the 20th century, though their dramatic dreams of towns and highways, wherever realized, have tended to be closer to nightmares. It's clear that almost by definition, utopia is a very attractive idea. But it's not a simple one, it's a very complicated one. Dr. Barbara Goodwin of Brunel University is co-author of a book called The Politics of Utopia. Barbara, what is the essence of this idea of utopia?
Well, utopia is a picture of an ideal society in which people are perfectly happy, perfectly content, and maybe perfectly virtuous. The origin of the word, in fact, was a pun by Sir Thomas More, who wrote the book called Utopia, and it's a compilation of two Greek words, a pun meaning both no place and a good place, and that's where the implication comes from, that utopias are unrealistic, impractical, impossible places, from the implication that a good place is a no place as well, is nowhere. To go back to the origins of utopianism, you have to go back to Plato, whose book, The Republic, was an ideally just society ruled by philosopher kings who would spend their time contemplating truths of justice and beauty and goodness. It's hard to think how they managed to rule the city as well. And I suppose he set the trend in a way. But there were no Christian utopias in
Why?
because heaven was reserved, perfection was reserved for heaven. And to think of, because man was irredeemably sinful, it was impossible to think of there being a perfectly happy, perfectly good life on earth. There are some curious medieval poems. For example, a poem called The Land of Cocaine, which was the poor man's paradise. The people lay back with their mouths open and roasted birds would fly into their mouths ready to eat. Those were sensual utopias. Someone's called them gastrotopias, or because they concentrated on the stomach more than anything.
Did the idea of utopia itself evolve along with economic development?
I think that the next landmark in the history of utopias is actually the 18th century, where the ideas of reason, historical progress, and perfectibility of mankind were prevalent among the Enlightenment philosophers. And they